Two. Good. Good. Great success. And I made a nice big whirlpool.
Good.
Hey folks, nice autumn afternoon. Well, I suppose it's not fall yet. Feels a little bit like it today. We just finished up, well, we're in the midst of grout sealing our makeshift sink. I don't know if this will come ahead or go after the shots of us kind of doing our MacGyvering with it, but we had originally a while back bought a stainless steel bowl, just a mixing bowl off Amazon, relatively large because we wanted like a basin kind of sink for our outhouse here behind me. And I had a feeling it might not work quite the way that we wanted it to, only in that Even if you get a bowl, because again, like if you when you buy a sink, you'll see that everything's kind of contoured around the drain where the basket will get installed. And so typically there's a gasket, like a rubber gasket, that will go on first. Then the basket goes on top of that, and that's essentially where the water is going to drain down into. And then from below, there'll be a nut, like a big large nut, that's going to screw on to the bottom of the basket and sandwich it to the sink. Now, there'll be a dip where that fits in so that the gasket and the space that it takes up, and then the actual metal of the basket, the rim around that goes on top of that gasket and then squeezes in, needs to be level with or a little bit below the rest of the sink. Otherwise, water, once it drains down, the water that's below that lip around the edge would just pool. And so because the bowl that we bought was never intended to be used as a sink, very flat at the bottom, and the gasket that came with a little basket kit, like the drain kit that we bought, was about, I want to say, not quite a quarter an inch, a little more than an eighth, but fairly thick. And so once we got it installed and we took a look at it, it was a little disappointing in that it was clear that when you filled it with water and then drained it out, there'd be quite a bit that would just remain. And what's going to happen there is eventually it'll evaporate, but it may also just start growing mold and algae if it gets any sunlight, and then it'll just be kind of scummy and messy. So we had to think that through, what we were going to do. At first I tried to just take a block of wood, and I used my carving knife and I just rounded it, and then tried to hammer around the hole that we had cut through the bottom of the bowl, just to see if we could flare it a bit to, like it would be if it was actually meant to be a sink. And that wasn't really working out. And I think in the end, if I had really put some effort into it, probably would have just mangled around the edge of the hole that we cut in it, and it just looked pretty crappy. So kind of kicked around some ideas, and then with the end we did is, since I was in the middle of working on those paver stones for the path and the driveway, I just mixed some S-type cement, so like 3-to-1 ratio, 3 parts sand to 1 part Portland cement. Mixed that up, dumped that all around the hole, and just kind of manually smoothed it out and rounded it and cleaned it around to try to make a nice concentric circle around the drain, and build it up so that there was kind of just create that roundness, or whatever you want to call it, that flare around the drain. So to close that 3/16 gap where water would be pooling, and to kind of smooth it out so that it looks nice aesthetically. In the end, so far we're pretty happy with it. It actually looks kind of nice. And when you think about it, anybody that's seen like an old farmer sink or like an old basement laundry sink, some of them, the really old ones, are made of cast cement. Like they're very hard, polished and sealed, but that's the material that they use. So we're actually kind of happy with the way it looks. It's unique. It does the job too, right? It's nice and smooth and rounded. The only thing I'm going to have to do last, I think, is just run a bead of silicone right around the place where the cement ends and the stainless steel starts, because the cement will not stick to the stainless steel. In fact, I'm pretty certain that if I turned that whole thing upside down and gave it, a good tap, it would just fall straight out. So the silicone will kind of hold it in place, but also keep water from getting underneath it again, where mold will grow and God knows what. So right now we're just running like applying a bunch of grout sealer to it, because it is porous cement. It's just soaking it up and soaking it up. Eventually that'll stop, and then we'll wipe off the excess, and it should be nice and shiny and sealed. Then we'll silicone it up, and then I think we're done. We've installed the shower. The only thing I think we'll get at some point, we never thought it through. I didn't run the pipe straight out the wall where we could put a valve to turn it on and off from the outside. So right now the shower needs to be turned on from the inside. But I was looking on Amazon, and you can get like a pull chain valve. So that way when people take a shower, you pull the chain. I think some of them, they have like a little spring on it or whatever, and it slowly retracts. So you give it a pull, and then it goes on for a bit and shuts itself off. Something like that, just to make it a little more convenient. But for now, it's good enough for rock and roll.
Hi guys, so today we are going to be working on the outhouse. We only have 2 jobs left as far as the things on our to-do list to finish up that job. A word of caution when it comes to squirrels. We didn't do any of our outside buildings understanding how badly squirrels want to get into them. So that is definitely something that we have learned the hard way. The roof still has areas of bark on it, which in hindsight we just wouldn't have done because they use that for their nests. They break it all up, so oftentimes that's the way that they're getting in through the roof. So every time that we replace that, wherever they get in, we are putting the cedar there instead. And we are going to be doing some things this winter to make sure that they aren't interested in getting in, but you know, we had to learn that the hard way, unfortunately. Going forward, they still may be able to get in once we have all of our sealing done and everything that we're going to do to try to avoid that. But for the most part, we are happy with the way that it is, and we're pretty sure that they're not going to be able to get in after we finish. So today what Al is going to be working on is the hardware, mesh, and the screens. So the squirrels had poked a hole in one of the back screens where the shower is at the top. And so we realize now, you know, if they can't get in any other way, that's the way that they're going to try to get in through the screens. So we're going to be putting those up along the eaves where the roof meets and there's gaps there, as well as the front and the back where we have screens just for ventilation. And then I'm going to be working on the little cedar deck that we're going to be building for people to stand on for the shower. So, and then that job will be done. So it's nice to have it done. I really don't like leaving jobs before we've actually completely finished it and it's the way that we want it to be. And unfortunately, the way that it's been since we got out here is that's just exactly what we've had to do. We get it as good as it can get, and then we move on to the next big project. So this summer's been really nice, you know, buttoning up these jobs that I really wasn't happy that we hadn't finished. So that's going to be completely usable. We're really pleased with the way that it turned out, and you know, we may make little adjustments in the future, but for the most part, we're just really pleased with the way that that all worked out. And yeah, and then the only other thing that we have left to do is Al is going to work on finishing that path. He's going to use the rest of the Portland cement and just finish the last bag that he has, because we've realized that it really doesn't save very well, at least not in the situation and the areas that we have to keep it in. So Al is going to just use that entire bag, whatever that means, and then we are going to start our next big project for the fall.
Captured in a photograph, remember how we used to sit in the vines. Yeah, oh, and I can hear you laugh it off. You always said mistakes I left in the past. Out your name, yeah. You said you had to change your heart, that Albany just left you all the same. I could see enough to know ya better up than sometimes it hits you when it's gone. And all night I stare into that same light, reinventing our life. I wonder where we'd be if nothing would have changed. love to our life, dreaming of a place to hide and find you in another time. Up it comes and down it goes, seeds will die before they grow. If nothing were to change, we'd have stayed the same. Never killed the flame, would we hold our ground? If nothing were to change, would you take my name? Stay through the rain, would we hold our ground? Could we hold our ground? Could we hold our ground? Could we hold our ground? Captured in a photograph, do you remember how we used to sit in the vines?
Call me, tell me I'm alive. Pull me, fill me up inside. Here, in the silence of the space, we all find the conclusion, break our illusions, way beyond seeking ourselves. Floating in my mind, taking what I find, how it is to where it's come and why it's meant to be. Dreaming I could lay in fields of Claude Monet. Sirens call my ear and I hear beautiful creatures sing to believers, way beyond seeking themselves. Tonight, oh tonight, I wonder if tonight is when I will feel it again. Tonight, I wish to live, I wish to stay. In the light, in the dark,